In this Canva tutorial, let's take a look at how to change the background in Canva. So when you have just a blank document here, or if you have any elements on your document, it doesn't matter. As long as you click the background, you'll kind of see it highlight when you put your cursor over it. You're going to see a little menu pop up. The first thing here is this color wheel, which allows you to change the background color. So when we click on that color wheel, we get this little pop up or pop out, I guess, this little dialog window. And you have a lot of different options. You can search for colors, use document colors. You've got some default solid colors down here, as well as default gradients. So you can also just add a gradient really quick by clicking on one of these, and there's a gradient as your background color. You can get in there and edit that if you want, and then you'll see sometimes this little change all button pop up. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So if you have multiple pages in your document, you can see down here at the bottom I've got 3 pages. You can actually click change all to then change the background on all of those pages. It doesn't always pop up, so that option isn't necessarily always there, but it's helpful when it does pop up if you need to do that. Now, you can come up here and actually just add a new color as well. So you can select your own color, select your own gradient or solid color, and you can do whatever you want here. If you want to pick a very specific color, like this mint green, and we see that change all pop up again. So even though we did the gradient on the rest, we can change all again and everything's mint green, right? Okay, so I mean, that's pretty much it for the background color. But if we want to add a background image, then we'll go to our elements over here on the left. And if we search for something, I'm going to search for forest as an example. And so I'll search forest and I'll find my photos section and click see all. And I've got all these different forest photos here. So this one here might be a good one to add into the background. And so I can click and drag. And as I drag it, you're going to see it pop up in some different ways. When I drag it onto my document, it's basically just going to put the photo there. If I drag it somewhere near the edge of the background, it's going to expand it and show you that it's going to put it into the background. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that and let go. And now you can see that I have an image in my background and it's cropped to the background, right? And so one of the things that, actually it just cropped the image to the background. So that's good to know. So it didn't actually put it in there. All right, so when you put an image in your document, what you're going to want to do is select that image, right-click it, and then go to Replace Background. And so once we do that, it puts the image into the background. That's good to know. So that other one actually isn't. I was pretty sure you could used to be able to drag it onto the background, but that one just crops it to the background. Anyway, now if we click and select this, we have a few options with our background. Like we can edit that image if we click this button, and we can make changes to it. So we could add a filter to it if we want to, and completely change the image that is in the background. You don't have to do any of that. We can delete that image from the background with this little trash can. We can also use background remover if you want to, and that's the background of the image, not the background of your page. We can crop it. We can flip the image, horizontal or vertical. We can add or change the background color that's underneath this image if you have some transparency in it. Speaking of, we have transparency right here, so we could reduce the transparency, and you can see all the way down to that mint green. So you can have like some of that green come through from that background color. That's where that color actually matters over here. And then the rest of this doesn't matter too much. You can copy this style, which is like copying the image background, and you could go to a different page and then click on that page and it will paste that image into the background of that page. So that's a way to kind of put the background of an image on multiple pages, because it doesn't have that same feature with the change all button that was the background color, right? The other thing over here is the crop button works from here. You can also just double click on your background and that will pull this open. So if we didn't want this image to quite be, set where it was, we can move it. We can also, let's go down here and zoom out a little. We can actually scale as well, up and down, and you can rotate as well. Some of these options are over here on the left in this little crop window, but then we can move it around, and maybe this is a little bit more what we want. We want some more white space at the top. Once we're done, we can click that done button down here, or we can just click outside of the frame, and it actually will commit the changes. So we can zoom in on that, and we've got this background here. And, that's pretty much it. But if you want to detach this image from the background, maybe you don't want to just delete it, you actually want the image, we can right click and go down to detach image from background, and that's going to pop that image back into your document so you can use it in your document as opposed to having it in your background. The last thing is there is a way to copy the background image to every single page in your document. Let's say you have a presentation. I'm going to hit Command or Control if you're on Windows Z to undo a couple times. So now we got this background here. And so the way to do that is a Canva Pro feature, of course, right? But you can try Canva Pro for free with the link in the description of the top comment down below. But what we're going to do is, actually, I'm going to move something here so I can see the pages. Okay, so we've got the page view down here, and you may just have pages like this, but we also can show page thumbnails, and that makes it a little bit easier to do this part. Or you can go to this grid view as well and kind of see all of your pages this way. But when we right click on the page thumbnail or this grid view page thumbnail, we're going to see copy page style, and it has a little Canva Pro icon next to it. When we copy that page style, we can then press Command A or Control A on your Windows keyboard, or this little select all button might pop up for you. The other thing you can do is hold Shift when you have the first page selected and then click on the last page. Just a bunch of ways to select every page, right? Then we can right click and go to Paste Page Style. When we do that, it will paste that background image into every page. So the background is now the same on every single page. Canva Pro feature to do that, but you can also go individually and just like paste the style to each page if you want to do that too. You can see anytime you have 3 dots and things like that, you can always adjust the page background or copy the page style, delete the background, do some different things like that. You can go to different pages, so we can double click on that page to go into it and then flip the image if we want to, like we showed you before. It's pretty easy to flip. If you want to change the image that's in the background, you can always go into your images and maybe find a different image that you like better. So maybe I'll pick this forest image here. If I just click on it, it's going to put it in my document. And then what I can do is right click on it and replace the background. And so when we replace the background, it's going to replace that image that's back there. So we do lose that image, but it's okay if you just want to replace it and find, this different forest image, for instance. And then we can do the same thing. We can double click. We can, I'm going to zoom out a little. We can scale it up and down to get just the right look that we want. Then, if you can't see your text on it, then of course you can go in here and adjust the transparency, maybe bring that down a little bit, and then maybe you can see your text a little bit better. And, that's just most of the different ways to edit the background here in Canva. There's one more thing here. You can actually go to that background color. You can choose from the photos in your document different colors. So if you want a color that kind of matches this photo, you can pull in this like light yellow. You can also adjust the gradients and make something really cool here. So we clicked on that gradient, and you can see you can change all. So you can change all the gradients on every page if you want to, which is all underneath your photos. So if you allow that transparency, then you can see this actual gradient. And from here, let's see if we can double click this, or we go up to add new color. Here's where we're in our gradient. So maybe I want this to be darker at the bottom actually. So I'm going to go in here and add a new gradient color, not a new gradient color. I'm going to swap these two colors so that the top is actually the lighter color and the bottom is the darker color. And so you can do that kind of thing. And maybe I want it to be actually kind of a lot lighter here. And so it goes down to that black at the bottom. And that just changes the look of it. So if I reduce the transparency, or actually increase it, no, reduce it, right? Make it a little bit more opaque. You can see how it changes my image here. Maybe I want the bottom to be darker. You can do a lot of layering with the background. That's how you can change the background here in Canva. Let me know if you have any questions down below.